Welcome to Enchanted Astrology with Ariel Smith. Today we are looking at the astrological forecast for the week of February 25th until March 3rd. Now this is a pretty big week. We have a lunar eclipse with the full moon in Virgo on March 3rd, and there is a lot building up around it. So before we get to the eclipse itself, I want to zoom out and talk about the bigger picture that's going on in the background. And I know I've been repeating this theme, but it really is the context for everything happening right now. So we are still in this South Node in Virgo, North Node in Pisces storyline. And the South Node in Virgo is really exposing where we believe there is one single right way to live. So one right way to work, a right way to be in a relationship, a right way to raise children, or to do spirituality, or to be productive. And when life doesn't follow this script, we tend to judge it. So we judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge situations. And Virgo energy at its highest is intelligent, it is perceptive, it is refined, but it is also very devoted. But when it's running unconsciously, when it's under-evolved, it can turn into this constant scanning for what's wrong. So it's hyper-focused on what needs fixing, what needs improving, what is inefficient. It's focused on what someone else is doing incorrectly, what other people should be doing. And a lot of us have built identities around being the one who fixes, who is organized, who improves systems or situations, or who holds everything together. And I'm pretty sure every single resume that you look at has organization on it somewhere, because we overpride ourselves in these qualities, thinking that that is good and anything else is bad. And this can also play out to look like over-functioning in our daily lives, right? We overperform at work. Yes, boss, I will take on this added task when I'm already over capacity, but there's nobody else to do it. So yes, boss, I will aim to please. I will try to meet this unrealistic expectation. Or over-giving in family systems. Yes, I will host all of the family events and gatherings because that is just the right thing to do, even though I get absolutely no help and it's burning me out and I feel very resentful in doing it, right? Hosting every holiday, or saying yes always, even when you're completely exhausted. And this builds this quiet resentment. So it's this mindset that I will do it because somebody has to, right? So I will step up. I'll handle this. And we say things like, oh, it's fine, don't worry, but it's not actually fine. It's actually exhausting, and it's draining us, and it's building this resentment. And underneath all of this is this belief that if I don't maintain this standard, if I don't keep being useful, something will fall apart, or I will lose my job, or I will lose my relationship, or I'll lose some sort of security. Now, Jupiter's journey retrograde in Cancer is actually deeply supporting these nodal placements, because Jupiter in Cancer is bringing our attention to our emotional bonds, our attachments, and our sense of safety within the relationships that we form. And since Jupiter is retrograde, it isn't about expanding more socially and creating more bonds. It's about reevaluating the bonds we have and the meaning behind them. Why did I form this bond? What is this connection actually based on? Is it based in love and mutual respect? Is it based in shared growth? Or is it based in a sense of survival? Right? A lot of the bonds that we have formed historically have actually been survival based. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like extreme physical survival. It can just be our sense of survival, right? It can be an actual survival bond, like a mother-child bond, but it can be a lot more subtle too. Like in high school, right? You bond with people because that sense of belonging and fitting in within your peers equals your safety. And the same thing happens in corporate environments, right? I saw this constantly when I was coaching in that space. Some of the strongest bonds that we form are built around our sense of being accepted within our peers. And often that looks like or is formed out of a mutual dislike for someone, right? Two people complaining about the same person or sharing a mutual hatred for that person, gossiping about the same coworker, right? Gossiping about the same peer. People form these bonds based on sharing the right perspective, right? I'm right and they're wrong, and so people who side with me are part of my bonds. We see this in social media, right? We see this out in the greater world. We really see this all the time. We start forming these bonds out of lower survival frequencies, like making fun of somebody. And if I make fun of the same person that other people are, I will be accepted. Or joining in on the gossip, right? It's that kind of peer pressure phenomenon. And that dynamic becomes the glue that holds the bonds together. But if that gossip stops, if the complaining stops, often those bonds dissolve, because that really was the glue for the basis of that bond. And that's very Virgo South Node, bonding through, shared criticism or through shared judgment or through a mutual sense of we are the ones that are right. But collectively, we are moving beyond that. And right now, you might notice certain connections in your own life that feel a bit unstable now if they were built on those types of dynamics. So it's taking us through this journey of reevaluating the bonds in our own lives. And it doesn't mean that every bond needs to fall away. They can evolve. But if they don't evolve, then likely that energy has run its course. It's no longer in alignment with your higher path, with where you're going next, with where we're being asked to grow and evolve into. And so those bonds that were formed on these more survival-based mindsets are falling away. So some relationships will be evolving beautifully right now, and others will be falling away, and all of that is okay, and all of that is perfectly on time and in alignment with what we're all going through. So we are searching for something more spiritual now in our bonds, in our connections with others. Bonds that are based on compassion and mutual respect. This understanding that every single person is on their own path, and that is okay. And that's the North Node in Pisces. Pisces moves us out of this mindset of what can I extract from the world around me. We're focusing on how others should behave according to my standards. And it evolves us into a focus of what is actually happening inside of me. How can I use the external world as a tool to help me reflect with what's going on deep within me? All right, so we ask these questions like, why is this triggering me? How can I shift my perception to view the situation differently? And we are learning to stop this mindset of thinking we have to straighten other people out. It's our job to straighten everybody out. And we start trusting that there is, in fact, a larger design at work. And this is actually why astrology is such a powerful tool, because when someone sees their chart and realizes that a certain tendency or behavior or pattern that has been so frustrating for them is literally written there for a purpose, it dissolves that feeling of there's something wrong here. This isn't supposed to be happening. This isn't right. What is going wrong? And it reorients us towards an understanding that there is a greater design. There is purpose here. There is meaning here. And I see this all the time with clients, that the amount of relief in their hearts when they realize, oh, I'm not broken. This makes so much sense. It is the most beautiful thing, because that validation offers them the ability to let go of the shame and blame and frustration of thinking that something is wrong. And it empowers us. That shift empowers us. Because there is nothing wrong with God's design, and God does not make mistakes. Every single event, every encounter or tendency, even the ones that we label as the flaws, they all serve a higher purpose. And that understanding just creates so much compassion. So instead of us forming these bonds by judging others or bonding through making fun of someone, we are moving towards bonds that are based on acceptance. And Jupiter retrograde in Cancer is supporting this emotional maturity. Now we also have Pluto in Aquarius supporting this shift away from survival-based hierarchies. Pluto in Aquarius is working to decentralize those power structures, those power overstructures, and it's moving us away from these suppressing systems. So the old model is win the boss's favor to survive, right? Or maintain your status in order to survive. Or tear someone down online to stay relevant. And Aquarius doesn't operate on these because Aquarius is non-hierarchical. So it moves horizontally where everybody's on the equal plane. It is a very humane energy. And that is what we are moving into. And we also have Saturn and Neptune in Aries also contributing to supporting this greater theme, because we are now in a place of defining who it is we want to be, right? Our ideal self, our higher expression. And if we don't want to be ruled by these power over structures, we have to rule ourselves. If we don't want to give our power away to these authoritarian structures and systems, we need to use our own power responsibly. So that requires an enormous amount of self-discipline, of self-governance, of not letting ourselves get away with behavior that we know is not aligned. And when we start to claim that internally within ourselves, we don't need to project that control outward into the external. So we allow other people to be their authentic, sovereign self. We accept that everyone is walking their own path, and we are all here to learn our own unique lessons. And we just focus on walking our own path to the best of our ability, and understand that each person is uniquely designed to help someone else exactly as you are, including and sometimes especially with what you perceive as your flaws. You do not need to become something else to be valuable. That whole mindset of I need to improve myself to be worthy is part of that Virgo South Node distortion. And Pisces is unconditional acceptance. So the more we honor ourselves as we are, the more we can genuinely help others. Now, on February 26th, the Sun conjuncts the North Node in Pisces at 8 degrees. And this is encouraging alignment with your path. It's confidence in your unique expression, your unique creative expression as a sovereign being. And at the same time, the moon in Cancer is trining this conjunction. So this is such a beautiful aspect because the moon is at home in Cancer, and this softens the heart. It lowers our emotional defenses, and this combination can feel like, okay, I trust who I am a little bit more now. I'm not apologizing for it. I don't feel ashamed for who I am. I'm no longer fearing personal rejection. There's a support here for just stepping into and owning your own path. And also around this time, maybe the day before, depending on your time zone, Mercury stations retrograde at 22 degrees of Pisces. And I really want to reframe the whole notion of retrogrades, because we've been conditioned to think that retrograde somehow equals bad, right? It's a negative thing. Oh, we should be afraid, it's all retrograde time. But I see retrogrades as the yin expression of that planet. And because we live in a culture that is obsessed with output and productivity, we want planets moving forward. We want them doing and producing and interacting with the external environment in some way. And retrograde planets are more in a state of recalibration. So they're more concerned about the inward experience, the internal experience. And with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, this is less about those external circumstances, getting an external, consensus about something. It's more about developing your own internal meaning and getting in touch with that. So instead of asking 5 friends what you should do, you go inward and deeply listen to your internal guidance system, right? It's almost like being in a meditation. Mercury in Pisces is reshaping perception. So it's softening our harsh mental patterns. It's helping us rise above shame and blame and defensiveness. And Mercury will retrograde back to 8 degrees of Pisces and station direct on the North Node around March 20th. So we'll discuss more on this at the time, but there are insights forming here that will become much clearer then. And when Mercury goes direct on that North Node, there is a new level of clarity in how you see your world, and it is a higher level of communication. So on March 2nd now, Mars enters Pisces. And Mars expression in Pisces is not this highly strategic Mars. It's not very clear and direct. We don't necessarily have a good understanding of what this Mars is doing because it's operating behind the scenes. So it's very intuitive here. Mars in Pisces is highly intuitive. So it's not, let's make a 10-step plan and execute kind of energy. It's much more just intuitively guided. So you might not fully understand where your energy is going. But if you trust what feels aligned, where your energy feels it wants to go, what feels natural, you end up exactly where you're meant to be, exactly when you're meant to be there. It's kind of like driving somewhere and realizing that you arrived without consciously thinking through every single turn, right? But it got you there, it guided you there, and you just had to kind of relax. So it feels a bit like an incubation period that we're in with all of these personal planets once again together, and now in the sign of Pisces. And because we're on this deeply internal journey, Mars is helping with that by being in the flow, by helping us a little bit on autopilot, being intuitively guided, allowing us to relax some of our sense of control and having to overachieve and plan out every detail. And Mars here is helping us just relax and go a little bit more with the flow. So less forcing and just more surrendering, more allowing where your energy wants to go. And also trust where it doesn't, right? Because that's important too. So then on March 3rd, we have the lunar eclipse in Virgo. So this is now a culmination point around those Virgo South Node themes that we've discussed, like productivity obsession, over identifying with being useful, judging yourself and others, feeling the need to control situations and circumstances, and just in general struggling to go with the flow. And something in that pattern is ending or shifting now. So you look to where 12 degrees of Virgo and 12 degrees of Pisces fall in your chart by house to see what area of your life these turning points will show up. And this will be more prominent for you personally if you have planets or points in the mutable signs of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So eclipses do mark great pivot points, right? They can be realizations, it can be a breaking point, or just a turning point of some kind. Full moon lunar eclipse can be a release. So it is a big significant week. So if things do feel heightened or emotional or very clarifying all of a sudden, it does make sense. And I hope this gives you some grounding or maybe validation for what it is you're experiencing. And if you want to work with these eclipse energies somatically, I do offer Virgo and Pisces Yin Yoga classes on my website at enchantedistrology.ca. Now, as always, thank you so very much for being here with me today. I will be back next week with another episode.